What's up, guys? My name is Natal Brar. We're back with the Brarcast after 3 years. Holy shit, we're back. And for the first episode, I'm a filmmaker, and all the strikes going on, they're pretty serious. So we're bringing in someone who actually inspired me a lot as a writer and comedy and all that stuff. It's Anthony Sardina. Please
Hey,
introduce
what
yourself.
up? Hi, how's it going? My name is Anthony Sardina. I am an ACTRA member here in Toronto, and yeah, I before ACTRA, I was working with a company called TFS Entertainment, more popularly known as Team Four Star, and I was the head writer, producer, director, and starred in FF7MA, which lasted from 2014 to 2020, like right at the end. So yeah, and thank you for having me.
Yeah, did Final Fantasy that one? I I love that one. I was because I only started really getting into Final Fantasy like during COVID.
Hmm.
So like I always saw you guys post it on the page, but I was like, I'll watch it eventually. Then I played Seven, like the remake, and I'm like, oh my god.
Yeah, the remake is I was playing it as I was writing the final movie, and I was like, "Oh my gosh, they do such a great job at like explaining so many of like the little tiny like intricacies and details that kind of got lost in translation, as well as like spoilers, by the way, for the new game, but like a lot of the changes that they made and stuff, and like how they expand on people's like motivations and backstories and stuff. You really start to like, oh yeah, I'm happy that they spent that time fleshing out what was going on in Midgar, not like kind of keeping it at like a street level of like, this is the problems that we are dealing with. And then once you get further into the game, you realize, oh shit, there's an even bigger thing going on. And I think that that's really fascinating. They did a fantastic job. All this to say, oh man, I had a it was I knew going in, I was like, there's no way I could make this as any better than the game has already done.
I'll say it. I'll say it. Your version is my headcanon.
Oh, thanks.
Because I started watching it, and I think that's like because like by the time I started getting into Final Fantasy Abridged, I that's like when that's like by the time like yours was done, and this is by the time I finished playing the original and the remake. I watched yours literally in like maybe one sitting. Yeah,
Damn. That is
Co-
that is like a tons, like 72 hours.
no, is it 70? Is it 72?
I remember doing the math. It was like, well, so because there's we have the separate videos, and then we have long videos that are like per season. And
Yeah.
I think I did the math. We also did a sorry, no, it's less than 72. It's like a full like 24, like
Then
maybe even like 12 hours or so, actually.
if I think it was like 12 hours. 'Cause
Yeah.
if it was, then I did that one in one sitting. If it was multiple hours, if it was like 24, then probably two sittings. But
Hmm.
I know I did watch it like I watched that shit hard. I was like, let's go. I love that. So let's start off with the strikes. So a lot of viewers are still probably confused about what's happening with the strikes, why the strikes are happening with the actors. Could you go a little bit into that?
Sure, yeah. Well, I mean, I'm not a SAG AFTRA member. I am SAG eligible due to my status with ACTRA. However, from what I've been seeing from the rallies and all the picketings as well, Michael, oh my gosh, I might be blanking on it. Duncan Crabtree and Michelle, oh my gosh, Herden, I believe.
I think so,
They
yeah.
Yeah, they came down for TIFF to like, talk and to speak about the what's going on with SAG. So essentially, really what's going on is that for years now, many movies and TV shows and such have been on streaming platforms like Netflix, Disney Plus, Amazon Prime, and they don't get any residuals from that. None of the actors, none of the writers. Well, the writers now, I believe, are because their
Yeah.
strike is over, so that's good on them. But yeah, no, SAG is going through a lot of that stuff about like there were videos going around too about one of the actors from Orange is the New Black, which was like, to
The
me,
show,
was
yeah.
like the show that launched Netflix.
Yeah, it was
They
like that and like House of Cards, right? Like they're at the same
Yeah,
time.
yeah. Those two. But the actors showed their residuals for that, and it was like 36 cents, like out of everything. Like a show that has been watched billions and billions and billions and millions and billions of times are not made. They don't see they see some sense, but they're not seeing enough that matches inflation with what's going on today with rent, food, hospital visits, medical, and all that stuff. So that's one thing that they're fighting for. So like actually getting paid better rather than like the CEOs giving themselves bonuses and shit. And another thing is AI protections. And there was a story that broke out talking about how one actor, I believe, who was doing background for a Disney show got completely scanned. They didn't say they weren't told what it was for, what it was going to be for, but essentially what it is that they would scan them so that way they can use their likeness for post production down the line to put them into backgrounds and not have to pay them. So you just get paid once. So like you're giving up your entire likeness to artificial intelligence. So that's another thing that people are fighting for. They want to be able to get that if they are going to be used for artificial intelligence purposes, is that they consent to it, that they're compensated, and that they know exactly what it is that's going on. So that's another thing that they're going to be fighting for, that they've been fighting for. Essentially, really what it is just they want to go up against like these big corporations who are holding so much of the funds and they're not willing to give away any of it. All Netflix or Warner Brothers or any of those companies have to do is just give less than 1% away, and that would save all this hassle that they've been going through. Because I think like Warner Brothers said that because of the SAG after strikes, they're losing like 300 to 400 or 600 million dollars, when in reality all the SAG after is asking for is like 14,000 or not even 45,000
Yeah.
or something a year, which is nothing, right? And a lot of people too, they think that like, oh well, what about big actors like Matt Damon or Will Ferrell or any of those triple A Hollywood actors? But no, like 90, not even, sorry, 86% of them can't even like afford healthcare coverage, which is like 26K, which is below, I think it's below the poverty line. I don't know. I'm
Yeah,
not in
like I
America.
think Sydney Sweeney, like star of like Euphoria,
Mm,
even like she's like, yo, I had to sell my house because like
yeah.
because like I think like correct me if I'm wrong, but most actors are living paycheck to paycheck, right?
Yep.
Yeah. And so at this point, like, yeah, so she's like, yeah, I gotta sell my house because she can't afford like with everything like because like they're not getting paid residuals anymore. Oh, actually, with streamers, they just never did.
Hmm.
Oh, and one thing for people that might not know, could you explain them what residuals are?
Residuals are a financial option for, let's say, for example, you record a commercial for McDonald's, and McDonald's wants to stream that for 6 months or so. So you would get paid for the session fee, which is the recording, the time you spent recording, and then there's the usage fee, which is like, okay, since we're going to use it for this long, you're going to get paid this much extra. And then based on the amount of views and such, you get residuals, which like down the line in like 3 months or so, you get an extra paycheck because it's like, hey, the commercial's doing very, very well. So here's like an extra. It's a bonus essentially, and that helps out. That can help out a lot of people because acting is like is auditioning is essentially job interviews all the time. So, sometimes things get slow because filming gets wrapped up and then they're in post production. So there's not really anything you're going on. And then there's other things that are casting for, but, sometimes you may not book it. So during those times where things are a little bit drier, a residual check, a nice bonus of like an extra couple hundred or maybe like 1,000 or something can definitely help somebody be like, oh, good, I don't have to worry about rent or food for a little bit. So really, that's all residuals are. They're just like another way to kind of help us in this capitalist hellscape.
Yeah. And so what? So like you talked about a little bit about like residuals and like getting paid more and like from so with the AI stuff. How? Oh, wait, so you talked a little about like getting the like. Sorry, I can't speak a word sometimes. You talked a little bit about how like they took the one actor's likeness. Wasn't there some deal like how they're like how studios are trying to do that for every actor, or something? Like, cause like a Netflix put out a little like thing like that, right? Like Black Mirror, they did a whole Black Mirror episode like that.
Yeah, they did. And funny enough, there was also another movie that came out like a while ago that was essentially the exact same problem. The main character of that movie gets their face scanned or their body scanned or whatever, and then they just use that and then they just put them in a bunch of different movies, not having to pay the actor because behold, we created this whole new thing. And that's a big fear that a lot of people in Hollywood were having because it's like, oh, well, they can just kind of create their own movie stars and then they completely pull like humans out of work. But the problem is that if you keep doing that and if you do that to the actors are also people who purchase and buy things, and if they don't have money to purchase or buy things, you're kind of screwing yourself over.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, that stuff honestly just scares the shit out of me too, because I'm like, because yeah, they can put you in like literally anything. So who knows? Like, if I get scanned, I could one end up in the next Marvel movie, or I could just end up in the next Mandingo movie, and
Exactly.
just get absolutely railed. Who
Yeah,
knows?
you have no idea. That's why they tell you to read your contracts.
Yeah. So as of right now, today is October 2nd or 3rd.
Third.
Third.
Wow.
What's the update like on the actor side?
Well, from what I've been seeing with SAG, they are back with the AMPTP, and they were speaking on Monday, and they're going to resume talks on Wednesday. So, I mean, it was kind of similar to what happened with the WGA and the AMPTP. They met one day, and then like it lasted a couple other days, and the AMPTP kept saying like, "Oh, this is our final offer. This is the best that we can do." Then eventually they just gave in to like everything that the WGA asked for because they realized, "Oh, damn, we literally we thought robots could do your jobs, but I guess not."
Yeah. On the Canadian side, how's that looking right now?
Well, for those of you who don't know, ACTRA National's commercial jurisdiction is under a lockout. Now, for those who have constantly been saying like strike and lockout, they don't really know. A lot of people don't really know the difference. So, like a strike is when the workers together of a place decide, okay, we're going to halt our production, our productivity, and thus meaning you will not get what you want, Mr. Factory Worker, and so you will have to come back to the table to negotiate with us. A lockout is the opposite. A lockout is when the employer stops the employees from working and thus going, okay, well, we will stop you from working unless you give in to our even shittier demands. And during that time, we will hire scab labor, meaning people who don't really know that they're working for less than what it actually is, says, okay, sure. And that's kind of the situation that we've been in for 500 days. So like the ICA, the Institute of Canadian Advertising Agencies, which are run various agencies that represent a lot of brands, very big brands in Canada, like Rogers, H&R Block, Home Hardware, Sleep Country, Wendy's, and recently they also announced like a bunch of other big name global brands that also have been using scab labor, like Visa, Johnson and Johnson, Lind, Volkswagen, like stuff like that, just to give you an examples. And what's been happening with that is they've been using non-union talent, paying rates that are like horrible. And it's funny recently. Well, not really funny, but the mediator between ACTRA and the ICA just said like, no, I can't do anything right now. You got both parties are way too far gone with it, with what it is that they want. So so the media blackout is on pause. And what ACTRA took from that was, okay, well then in that case, we're gonna show your full ass, ICA. And they posted like what the ICA's proposal was. We had like a big town hall before before they started like really pushing and talking with a lot of other organizations from around the world. They showed us like, oh, like just how much they're willing to gut our negotiation. So for example, if you are a principal performer on a commercial that is going to run for a year, that's $10,000, which sounds like a lot. Don't get me, it is. But if you look at but if you don't look at it as like a 9 to 5, you're not getting paid $10,000 every 2 weeks. You get paid $10,000 once, and
Mhm.
then you probably get residuals down the line as well. What the ICA was saying for that was, okay, 1 year principal performer, 4,200, which is more than half of what it is. And they have all this like they
That is
show
bullshit. That's actually
it's
bullshit.
nuts. It is nuts. But you know what? People who don't know better, who aren't educated in how much like proper rates and just how much these CEOs are making, say, okay, sure, because I also want to be able to be in a commercial and get an acting credit to put on my resume without realizing the effects, right? It's a
Mhm.
race to the bottom. So so a lot of us have started going to like to various other rallies, national relations boards to make our case heard. They also provided us with a nice little poster that has like the boycott union busting brands. I actually printed a bunch here to show.
Oh, some
Uh it's a little, it might be a little fuzzy
yeah.
because of my thing. But anyway, okay, so that didn't work. But you can find it on actra.ca/NCA
All right.
slash
I'll put the
boycott,
link
I
somewhere here.
believe.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And yeah, they have all the information on there. Granted, it is quite technical and there's a lot of financial jargon that is like, I don't get this. If you're But you know, they're fixing that up, and they kind of just have it shown what the contracts were. So it's still worth looking, like a compare and contrast kind of idea. But that's what we've been dealing with for over 500 days, and right now it feels like the limiters are off now that the media blackout's on pause, and like every single day Actra is constantly like posting on their socials about stuff that's going on. And you know, Actra has also been incredibly supportive and in solidarity of what SAG-AFTRA has been going through, what the people at TVO have been going through recently. They're on week 7 right now.
TVO.
Do you remember Polka Dot Shorts or anything like that?
Yeah.
Okay, so that was the company TVO. They made that.
Oh.
They've been on strike for like 7 weeks now because the TVO, the company, it hasn't like been given, it hasn't been like increasing wages or anything like that. I'm not as informed with that about
Mm.
what's been going on, but it's also on there. At the end of the day, like all these, every single labor movement is for the exact same thing.
Yeah.
We're tired that the people in charge who really aren't doing anything are taking in all the money while the workers have to beg and get nothing but scraps. And so people are saying, nah, we're done. We want this. And with the win that the WGA just had, I do have some I do have confidence that eventually we will get out of this. You know, call it optimism or delusion. I prefer I prefer to try and keep that positive mindset of stuff's going on.
Oh, 100%. Like, because they can only go so far with scab actors. Oh, speaking of scab actors, so I was talking a lot about this with my friends over the weekend while we were working on the short film. With scab actors, like, if they're gonna be doing all this stuff like now, what are they? What's in the future for them once everything's all settled up? They're probably fucked, right?
I think on the SAG portion, I don't know really what's going on with the SAG portion, but I don't think that they're not making friends. I'll tell you that. You know, people will remember the eyes. The walls have ears, but they also have eyes and mouths, lots and lots of mouths. But with for example, like what would happen with Drew Barrymore,
Yeah.
during the lockout that's still going on, she actually went down or up to Canada to film a scab commercial, and that was kind of also what a lot of what caught a lot of Americans' eyes, because they don't know, right? If people in Canada don't know that this is going on, then Americans definitely don't know this has been going on. So that was another way to kind of that unfortunately did help us bring up. And then when she wanted to go back to her show, a lot of Canadians were also like, "This isn't the first time she's done this. Here, check this out. We've been in lockdown and stuff." So yeah, I don't think I think I think some I think there might be like wiggle room when it comes to like, oh, I worked on this thing that was scabs. So will I lose my membership? Maybe, probably. Will I have to sit in front of like a tribunal or something to kind of explain to myself like, oh, I was in financial hard times, da 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 da, which also is kind of an unfortunate reality that a lot of people do have to kind of take shitty work in order to live in, especially in Toronto. It's nuts.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, you're Toronto, right? Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
How's that right now?
Well, I was at a rent control rally yesterday,
It's
which
so fun.
yeah, no, it's great. A lot of renters are like, nope, we're not paying anything. We're on a rent strike until shit gets figured out. And yeah, no, it's I think there's also like talks at a parliamentary level or the provincial level right now about all that stuff. But no, it's
Come to
incredibly hard.
come to Calgary. It's so much better here.
It's cheaper, but all my work is here though. I know so many people who moved to Alberta now. Did you know that there was a whole ad campaign
Yeah,
on like the TTC? Yeah, it's like come
come
to
to
live in
Alberta.
Alberta
Oh my god,
because they were like desperately in need of like workers.
I that was the funniest shit. Like so many of my friends just send me like all my Toronto buddies like, hey yo, look at that. I'm like, yeah, it's better right now. We're chilling. But actually, no, now we're kind of getting screwed now too, because
I
everyone's
was
coming
seeing
here.
some. I was seeing some news, and there's also like some members, some government members that aren't real cool, aren't doing
Yeah,
cool.
yeah, Alberta's. We're the Texas. We're the Texas
It's
of the.
true. It's true. Yeah.
And as someone who's worked for a Texas company like TFS,
Mm. Well,
oh
they're in Dallas, so like there's
yeah,
there's some differences there.
yeah, we're going through it right now.
Ay, ay.
That's why I'm happy. I'm young and I live with my parents still.
There you
I
go.
just
Don't
graduated
we
university.
all? Don't we all?
So I think we covered. Did we cover most bases now with the strike and stuff?
I would say so, perhaps.
Uh, if you think of anything else, just let me know and we'll just circle back to that.
I would say for anyone who's interested in knowing, please do look up actra.ca/NCA and really share around, especially if you're Canadian to and a member of ACTRA, because you're definitely and non-union as well, because this does affect you as well. Because if you're working on like a commercial that doesn't have like unionized protections, then you're not, then let's say for example you get hurt or something on set and you aren't able to sue or do anything like that, you're gonna have to pay a lawyer. That's gonna be a lot of money. ACTRA has lawyers on call that you can that you can go to, and there's like a whole system, right? So I would definitely say that if you are an ACTRA member or looking to want to join ACTRA, I would say please stand with us, stand in solidarity, boycott these brands. You can see them all. And if you also are American by any chance and you have an agent that sends you anything from Canada that's non-union, please inform them because they also don't know.
Yeah, yeah. In the comments or wherever I post this, I'll put the link to AFTRA and everything there. Any resources, and if you have any more resources, you just send me it, and I'll just put it everywhere.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
totally.
and so let's move on with that, and let's talk about your past work, because like a lot of your stuff, I had your like Google stuff here, but let's just I think this is TFS is probably the most notable. I'm guessing, right?
Yeah, working with TFS was definitely like the thing that kind of is I'm most known for, I guess.
Mm.
Granted, like Dragon Ball Z Abridged was their baby. Like that was
Yeah,
that was like the big thing. And then you had Helsing. So I was like the third child, like or maybe the middle child of the whole thing, right? Like people still enjoyed FF7MA, but it didn't get as much traction, which makes sense as the series that they built the entire company
Yeah.
around. In DPCA, I was Captain Ginyu, Mr. Satan, Dodoria, Sauza from the Cooler movie, Nikki from the Dead Zone movie, and Android 15 from the Super 13
Yeah.
movie, and a bunch of other like incidentals here and there. Whenever Scott was like, "Hey, can you play this character? I need a line." Yeah, sure.
Ah, dude, Satan's character was such a goat in my head. I loved him so.
He was a
uh,
lot of fun. He was a lot of fun.
who did you play on Final Fantasy?
In Final Fantasy, I was Barrett.
Oh, Barrett was, yeah, the dad. Yeah,
Yeah,
he.
yeah, yeah. The gun armed man.
I love that man so much.
He's great.
So where did the idea come from, like to do Final Fantasy 7? Was it
So
your idea?
no, so I wasn't. I was actually brought on a little early on because it was Curtis, Takahata 101, and Howard. They had worked on Attack on Titan Abridged, and then that got shut down. So they were like,
Why?
okay,
Why did
well,
that get shut down? Because like I remember watching the first episode, I was like, this is the
legal
greatest thing.
stuff. So what happened then was they were like, okay, well, we should probably work on something that will actually make us money. And I forget who it was, but I believe it was Curtis that kind of came up with the idea of like, what if we just took video game footage, because this was during the time, this was like the big let's play boom where
Yeah.
like anyone could like put a let's play on, and if it got enough views, they'd get they'd get tons and tons and tons and tons of money. So, thank you, Game Grumps, for inspiring us. What happened was he was like, okay, well, if we do this, we should think of like what's a game series that is so well loved universally, and that's just could be the easiest to use. And he said Final Fantasy VII, because the characters, when they're idle, they're just kind of moving, and because if they were to choose, they would have done like 9 or 8. But the problem with that was that like 9, when you're idle, they're like breathing, so their pixels or their polygons still moved. So that would have been a whole lot harder when it came to editing. But with Final Fantasy VII, everything was kind of still. So he was able to bring on Lawrence Masako X to be our editor, because he was only playing Goku and a bunch of other characters at the time. So it was also a way for him to make a paycheck. And we also got Cliff iTunes to remake all the music on in the game, and then down the line we'd be able to take the songs, get them remastered or mastered, and then we could sell them as CDs. And then he pitched this whole idea to me because while we were at a convention, because I had offhandedly said to him one time, like, hey man, like I know I'm kind of only doing like voices and stuff like that, but if they ever, I would love to do more with the company. I'd love to like write or anything like that if they ever need anything. And he told me like, yeah, actually we're working on this new thing. Howard unfortunately couldn't continue because he was going off to college during that time. So everyone was like, no, please focus on your education. So that left up a spot and for co-writing. And he pitched me everything, and then he said at the end of it will be called Final Fantasy VII Machine Abridged. A combination of machinima and abridged. And I was like, that's good. That's okay. Yeah, I'm down. And they had one script already completed and the second script half completed. So I came in that the second half of the script. So what we did was, when we recorded it, when we wanted to write this, we had a let's play open, so that way we could see like and remind ourselves, okay, what's going on. And then I would also have like the Final Fantasy wiki open, so that way I'd be able to follow along to be like, okay, so Cloud goes to here, he talks to this person, what is this person's relationship to this person, so that way I can properly make sure, because I didn't want to like get something wrong and then the internet rain fire on me. And so eventually what we did was, yeah, we wrote out the first season, and Masako would play the game, and he also had a program that would let him take the text box and then shrink it down. So what he would do is he would write it, the dialogue would pop up, but then he would click on the dialogue, remove it, and it would just make like a little tiny box, and then he would put it in like a corner or someplace. Like if there was like a screen that was just like all black, he would just put it there, and then in editing he would mat it over with just like a black marker or something, so
Yeah.
that way there was no text box would show up. And then eventually Once the footage was captured and once picture was locked, we would do a camera pass, which then I would watch the episode, and then I would give notes. I would send them over, like, okay, have the cameras hold on to there, then like pan over to Tifa for her line, slowly pan over to this, just so that way we can kind of sell this emotional point. And then once the camera pass was done, we would send it over to Cliff to do a music pass. And then I would put in the time codes of like what music would be here, what stingers would kind of go there. And then eventually I would also do a sound effects pass where I would put like sound effects that I know for me I would want to have in there. So it's so, because I also had a ton of sound effects. So I'd be able to like just kind of put it in rather than having to go back and forth and be like, try putting in something like this or try putting in something like this, just to kind of make the workflow more linear. And then once the music was done, once everything was set up, we would then do a lip flap pass where we would have like the characters like doing like mouth movements and stuff, because that was something that was also never really done in the Final Fantasy games during that time. There were no mouth flaps, because if there's going to be no text box, I think a mouth flap would still be pretty fun. And then once that was all done, and then it'd be ready to be sent off, and then I would upload it and make a thumbnail and everything, put in the SEO and everything, and then schedule it. For season 1, we would put it on the website first, and then a week later we would put it on on YouTube. And the first season bombed. Like, it made us like barely any money because we didn't realize the episodes needed to be at least 10 minutes long, so that way we could get a beginning roll, a mid roll, and an end roll. Oh, yeah. But the majority of the episodes in season 1 were less than 10 minutes, so all we had was the beginning roll. And also, because the episode, and this is my thought, because the episodes were already up on the website, people aren't going to want to go back to watch it on YouTube when they can already see it a week earlier. So we took a year off to work on the Tiba competition, which that I think had its own problems.
What was the Tiba competition?
It was like the Tenkaichi bridge. I think what it was like, making a bridge series, send it to us. It was like America's Next Top Abridger.
So kind of like the short film competition I just did.
A little bit, yeah, yes, yeah. So, and we did that for a bit, and it was pretty cool. A lot of people's names got put out there. We saw a lot of work, and we were like, "Ooh, we really like this. We want to work with this person." And that was kind of it. But yeah, and then so what happened later was I ended up taking over the show as the showrunner, because during this time Curtis was going through a lot of personal issues. Like, he was moving as well, so like he couldn't really commit the time. So I kind of just took it upon myself to be like, okay, well, this needs to be made. Like, you brought me in to like make this, so I'm gonna adopt it, and I'm gonna send it off to college as best as I can. And what ended up happening was I was the one who started recording the footage, because I had the idea in my mind of like, okay, Cloud needs to be standing here when he's saying this, and he needs to be looking at this person, and he needs to slowly kind of walk up to here, rather than going to Lawrence and be like, hey, can you actually re-record this so that way we can have it to like here, right? And we also found a program called blackchocobo.exe, which pretty much game sharked the whole game. So like, you could open it up and you could set everyone's levels to like 99, infinite like health, like super everything, supers here, supers there, have the characters start at this place, have the time frame within the game, set it up here so that way this thing can be activated. And sometimes things would be like messed up, but it would still kind of look cool. Like, you would have like, I want Cloud to be standing in Midgar during the time in the game where you're looking for the black chocobo or something like that. And then he'd just be like stuck in the water or something. And I was like, ooh, that could be cool for something, right?
And that's when he was drowning, right? Or something? I think he was drowning.
Something. No, not maybe. Maybe he was drowning. There was parts. It's been so long.
It's so good though, man. Oh my God.
Yeah. But yeah, no. So I ended up recording all the footage. I gave it to Lauren, so that way he would be able to put it up, and then he would send me a pass, and then I'd give him notes, and then once that was done, and it was the same idea as before, only this time I was kind of I didn't have to wait on Curtis to get back to me on his notes. So it was all just kind of through me. So like from season 2 to onwards, that was I was the showrunner for that show. So it was I really cherished it. I kind of had to learn to love it going forward because like Final Fantasy VII isn't my favorite game, but it is the most popular, and the lore very confusing. But I'll tell you, after 7 years of eating up the wiki, everything starts to make a little more sense. So I'm like, okay, no, this makes sense. And I was like, okay, well, if this character is going to be I'm talking to this person, there's so much within the game itself that doesn't get shown that would make so much more sense. Like Professor Gast, for example.
Yeah.
You would have no idea that Gast was like Aerith's dad or at all unless you went and did like a side mission minigame. And that's like a huge thing in the story. Like that should not have been there, but it seems like the new remake is fixing that. So good on them. But yeah, no, that was, and I kind of treated it as well as like my swan song, my farewell to like I am no longer doing parody abridged videos anymore. This was the ultimate thing that I've done. Goodbye, everyone. And I'm happy that so many people enjoyed it.
Yeah, like I think now like after this interview, second this over and go upstairs and I'm just start rewatching it again. Just like, I'm reminiscing it again now too.
Yeah. Some things didn't age well, I'll admit. If I could go back and change a couple things, I definitely would. But it's that's out there, and that's growth, right?
I
You,
think
you
that's with
kind of you
everything.
learn.
That's with
Yeah.
everything. Like a lot of my old videos. Ugh. eh,
hmm But
Uh,
they
yeah.
say that if you're able to cringe and be like back at like what things that you've said or done, then that just shows growth. That's like, okay, I'm a better person than I was back then. So then that's at least something nice to take in.
And I think that's also just the creative mindset. Where like I don't know if you have this, but in my mind is like I can't like anything I make at like after I press upload, I have to start hating it so then I can like one up it. Do you have that type of feeling?
I think I know it. Like it's always like I can make it better. I can always trying to one up yourself. What I get is when you have a joke and at first you laugh, but then when you're in the editing stage and you constantly hear it over and over and over again, it's like, oh my god, was this ever even funny? And then you're like, we have to get rid of this joke. We like no, like it's not funny. No one's gonna think it. But a trick that I learned was remember the first time it made you laugh. That's kind of you need to think of the first time you heard it. And that way people might have the exact same experience. You won't know because it's something that you're so familiar with. And once it becomes familiar, it doesn't become as funny.
Yeah. Like yeah, like I'll just use the short film like I made an example again. So that one vasectomy scene in
Mhm.
my head, like when I wrote, because I was head writer on that one, I basically wrote the whole script in one night, and by the time everyone showed up, I was still like on no sleep and we just started filming. And I wasn't supposed to act in this anyways. I was just supposed to direct. But then two actors dropped out, so I had to just take over. But that vasectomy scene, when we wrote it and like when we were filming it, funniest shit ever. But then while I was editing, I'm like, do I hate this joke? So so I called my dad. I'm like, hey, can you come down here? He's like, yeah. Can you look at the time it was funny? He looks at it, he giggles. I'm like, fuck yeah, let's go.
That's yeah, when the parent laughs, that's how you know. That's how you know.
I'm like, cool, my dad's laughing at a joke about vasectomies. Let's go.
There you go. There
And
you go.
yeah, so let's talk about your other like not TFS related stuff. I have the list here. So you've done a lot of like kids shows. It looked like. What's your favorite of all these shows? Like Fistmaster, all that type of stuff. What's your favorite of all those stuff that you've done?
Ooh, yeah. Fistmaster was also a TFS project by
Was it?
Stefan Krozix. He works for TFS. It's his personal project, and he brought me in to play a couple characters. One of them being the Kung Fu ape and a magic rabbit. I forget their martial ape and the hair, Mr. Hair or something. But yeah, no, those were really nice. Those were really cool. Like it was all done by him. Like just one guy made that. And it's nuts. He's a beast. He's a
Like all the
machine.
animation and stuff too?
All the animations, that's all him. That's all animations, music, everything. One guy is crazy.
So my man is a workhorse. My man did
He
everything.
is he is a workhorse. Yeah, he needs to take a break. He needs to
Don't
relax.
don't we all? Don't we all,
Don't we
Disney?
all? Don't we all? Him
I
in particular.
yeah.
But I think in terms of like my favorite kids show to play is I do enjoy playing Traveling Travis on Paw Patrol. He's fun just because he's just Steve Irwin, really. Like he was like they just told me he's Australian. I was like, oh, I see what you're doing. Okay, right. And but no, he's fun. He's a fun, charming guy. There was another show that I did back in 2019 called Haley and the Hero Heart,
Mhm.
and it didn't see the light of day until like this year. But I played a bunch of characters. I played this character called Spinny Kitty, which was originally called Spitty Kitty, but they were like, we probably should change that. I was like, good idea. And they would call me in to be like, hey, we have a character who's blanking this and that and this and that. Can you play them? Yeah, sure. Which kind of solidified like where I want to be or what I want to be in terms of my career being like a variety player of like we have a character, let's call in Anthony, and that's kind of where I want to be. But that was a good first taste of like that pencil in kind of there's a term for it, session musician.
Mhm.
That's kind of where I want to be. But no, Haley and the Hero Heart was great. It was my first ensemble. It was my first where I like would come in like once a week or so, maybe twice a week, and you'd see your actors, you'd bring the scripts, and everyone be like, what do we want for lunch? What are we thinking? Right. And it was a really cool environment to kind of be in there. And you're like 4 hours, you're done, and then you can like go home and enjoy the rest of the day. And it was really cool. It was very nice. There was another show I did called Happy House of Frightenstein, which is a remake of a really old 1970s show called Haunted House of Frightenstein,
Mhm.
which was like in that show, it was like all adults, kind of like a variety show. It's like, I'm the vampire, I'm the werewolf, and I'm the mummy, and we're all just kind of doing our own thing in the day. Where the Happy House of Frightenstein is like it's kids, like they're little kids, and it's animated. And I played a character called Gronk, which was like the only adult character, which was like a sea monster kind of thing that would show up and just be like Gronk and say like, like, well, kids, maybe you should try to share next time, like give it like a lesson to them. It's won a couple awards, which was really cool. But I had to leave. Thank you. But I had to leave for the second seat when the second season started because I joined ACTRA at that time, so I couldn't do any non-union work anymore. So I was like, all right, I'm sorry, I can't do it. So they recast me, and they're still going strong, which congrats to them. It's fantastic. But yeah, no, I think children's animation is can be a lot of fun. It's definitely different, and it's you got to find that toe that line of like you're talking to them like a kid, but you got to not talk to them like a kid. Like you got to be slow and concise and make things kind of understandable because when they're watching these things, it's also they have to learn, right?
Yeah.
So you want to make sure that things are easily digestible.
Mhm. Yeah. Oh yeah. Wait, on Paw Patrol, who were you again? Because like I watched.
Traveling Travis.
Oh wait, I find a picture of this because because like I watched it a lot with my little cousin when when I used to babysit her. I want to see if I recognize it. Traveling Travis.
Yes.
Travis. Oh my god.
Yeah.
Oh my god. I remember this one. Okay. Actually, it was one of the next thing I was saying. Of all the things you've done, both like of everything you've done, which ones are your favorite voices that you can just do on command?
Hmm.
Like Mr. Satan, like that one, like because I know that one was like a very iconic one. But like, can you just do that voice? Can you just like just insult me in the Satan voice or something?
All right. Why don't you go clean your damn room?
Oh my
Century, more like pennies. That's what I'm seeing.
god. I love it.
Why, you don't got enough light in your basement?
Oh, I
As
do. I
someone who
love it.
also lives in a basement.
Yay.
Yeah.
But yeah, of all the voices you've done, what's like your like that you like you're the most proud of?
Hmm. I would well the so my very first I think like in my mind it kind of got me prepared for like the I guess the industry was this game called The Journey Down, and it was a 3-part adventure point and click style game where I play the main character. And so that was like my very first intro to like, how many lines do I have? Over 1,000? Okay. So like I would be able to like spread them out over time. But what I really loved about it was it allowed me to do like my Trinidadian accent, which back then was a little more like, hey, it's me. How's it going? You know, like stuff like that, right?
Hmm.
But now I've gotten a bit better at it. And what was also great is that I also play one of my best friends plays the main guy, my buddy David Dixon. He plays a character called Quito, who also is like, hey, what? How's it going? So like we're just like a bunch of two like, like just like really happy kind of guys, and that lasted because it's a 3-part game. The
Hmm.
first one came out in 2012. The second one came out in 2014, and I think the last one came out in 2015. So like during that time, like I was also doing like a lot of other like non-union video games and such during that time, which is really cool. That was able to kind of help me understand cold reading and be becoming a better actor as well. But it was also like my first time of like, okay, I'm not being directed on this. I have to figure out like how this is going. Okay, well, it's a point and click game, so I assume every single line that's like sees a flashlight. Perhaps I could use this. You know, it's like I've played Putt Putt Plays the Zoo. I know how that works. I know what they're looking for. But no, that was I think like the most special game. My partner, when she found out that I was Buana and that my buddy David was that, she lost her mind because she loves point and click games and she played The Journey Down. So when she found that out, it was like, oh my god, it's almost kind of serendipitous
It's
how much that game
destiny.
is. It's kind of is, yeah. And I think I will always cherish The Journey Down as like my favorite just because of like like my best friend, one of my best friends are in it. My partner loves it and discovers it. Is like it's and so many other people that I know that I've known for years are a part of it, and it's like it's a very special game in my heart.
That's just awesome. So, how does one get into voice acting? Like, because with me, like, I've done like a few corporate stuff, but like, I've never really like ventured out of that. Like, I did for the company I'm working with. I'm the media specialist. So, like, for them, I'm doing a lot of the voices and stuff for all the commercials, all our presentations. Like, they've been played internationally now. But like, if I want to get into like voice acting, where would I go?
Well, there are voice acting classes online, and if you can do in person, I would suggest doing in person as well because it's about community, right? Definitely taking classes helps. There is a website called iwanttobeavoiceactor.com, which is run by D. Bradley Baker, who for since the 90s has been a voice actor for multiple like animals and like creature sounds. Like you know how Frank Welker is like the guy when it comes to any animal sounds or anything
Yeah,
like that. D. Bradley Baker is just under him.
I can do a
Eh,
pretty mean dog.
oh, okay. Like a
All right,
mean dog?
I can do a pretty good dog. Wait, let me just do it. I don't want to like peek at the microphone, but
Okay. Okay, yeah, you got the spirit.
I was a dog in my school playing grade 9.
Ah, snap.
Was I the only colored person in my entire school for that? Yes. So they put me in a
No
dog
way.
costume for that? Yes, they
In
did.
Calgary? No.
Yeah.
Oh,
It was yeah, it was a great time.
I bet. But yeah, no, classes definitely help. There is also a forum called the Voice Acting Club where a lot of people from like the late 2000s, early 2010s really cut their teeth on and have now gone off to become like big names in like anime and video games and prelay and all that stuff. That's and what the voice acting club is essentially like it's a forum where people will post like, hey, I'm working on this project, or and it pays this much, or hey, I'm doing this project and it's not paying a lot, but or not at all. But if you want to get into it and like try out voice acting, then you're not going to get paid like right off the bat. You have to kind of eat a little bit of shit first before you
Mm.
start seeing before you start seeing some green. But those are also those are great resources and places. Acting classes as well, just to kind of learn like how to like break down a script and like see like points in where you can like add extra stuff or add efforts or like or pre-life as people like to call it, just to kind of like a good way of studying techniques. But no, those websites are all great. They have some fantastic, they have amazing resources. That's probably the best thing that I can say about Voice Acting Club and I want to be a voice actor.com is that the resources are practically endless. Like any question that you have, it's right there.
Awesome. Awesome. And the final question is probably more important than anything I've ever asked on this entire interview. More important than talking about the strikes, more important than talking about TFS. How do you take care of that gorgeous mustache? It's
I comb it.
it's
I just
glorious.
comb it. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I have not shaved it in years, but that might change soon for a Halloween costume. But
Prince.
I'm not gonna say.
Damn it.
Can't let people know yet. But yeah, no, I mean, I just comb it really. Like after a shower, I'll just like comb it down. It's my hair is naturally curly, so sometimes like strands will like kind of poke out, so I have to find like some kind of oil or cream or something to just kind of like pat it down so that way it'll stay down. But
Yeah, perfect one for that is coconut oil.
yeah, I've tried coconut. My skin is very oily, so like any amount of coconut oil that goes on like immediately is just like bubbles. So I have to be a little careful of that.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, because my skin's I have the combination skin. So
Hmm.
literally, I'm just being super careful. Like, all right, only over here. Nothing's gonna peek out. Anything goes everywhere. I have to wipe that off right away. Yeah, but like, so guys, if you guys want to support the strike, put all the resources down here. I don't know where stuff is. I haven't done this in a while, but they can be somewhere in the description. Thank you, Anthony, for coming on to this.
No,
It was
thank you for
great.
having me.